Well, I would just introduce you to our viewers shortly. Michaela is a Slovakian interactive creator and producer, a PhD candidate and ELIA scholar at York University, Toronto. Her focus lies on the ways in which new media impact the real through interaction with algorithmic processes and artificial intelligence. Her first VR piece as author and director, Symphony of Noise VR, premiered internationally at IDFA Doc Lab Competition for Immersive Non-Fiction in Amsterdam in 2019. Again in German, but then we will go on in English. I would just have the small words. Michaela Pňačeková ist eine slowakische Produzentin im Bereich Interactive, Doktorandin und ELIA-Stipendiatin an der York University, Toronto. Ihr Fokus liegt auf der Art und Weise, wie neue Medien das Reale durch Interaktion mit algorithmischen Prozessen und künstlicher Intelligenz beeinflussen. Ihr erstes VR-Stück als Autorin und Regisseurin, Symphony of Noise VR, wurde 2019 bei der IDFA Doc Lab Competition for Immersive Non-Fiction in Amsterdam international uraufgeführt. Yeah, and so coming back. you have prepared this presentation. It's really interesting because when you have this German text about immersive technology and all the stuff, it seems like half the words are English, and so sometimes like curious to read it in German, but you have lots of English words in it. So
that's true.
I'm really interested.
It's also funny.
what we will talk about, because the first time we talked, it was on the telephone, and you called me when I was, I guess, somewhere in the train station in Frankfurt, and you just asked me if we Ectoplastic, me and my colleague Stefan, would make some work for Symphony of Noise, and there was some and we said maybe, but there are also prefrontal cortex in Halle, and then Stefan came back to the project, and then I saw it from the outside growing, and was really interesting. And last time I saw it in the studio, I checked the beta on Steam, and was really mind-blowing. Yeah, really a fan of this project.
Thank you so much. So I can start. So I'm going to talk about the production of the piece and how it's developed, and how basically the design and the user design was together developed with the sound design, and how we were influenced by sound and by music and by Matthew Herbert's work. So that's kind of, and I will try to make it in 20 minutes, maybe shorter.
Yeah, we'll have a look on my watch here. Okay, no, 20 minutes, it's great.
Cool. Okay, so I'm going to share screen now.
Yeah.
And I'm going to also share sound. Okay, and now I'm going to, okay. So do you see my my presentation, like the first slide?
Yeah, but I guess I have here some leftover. No, I guess it's okay.
Okay, cool. So I was already introduced by Jakob. I thank you for this lovely introduction. So I will not say much more. The only thing I want to say is that in the past 5 years, I've developed as an interactive artist, and really Symphony of Noise was one of the journeys that, and Ectoplastic, like working with you guys, with Stefan especially, Ectoplastic, and with prefrontal cortex in Halle, and with the sound designer in Berlin, Fibos Collias. I mean, it brought me really to VR, virtual reality, spatial sound, binaural sound, and I realized that this is the field I want to work in. I want to make more projects in, and so during my PhD, so then after finishing that project, I went to Canada and started the PhD, and basically I focused on personalized interactive experiences. And so I'm going to position myself a little bit theoretically, but don't worry, it will be just this slide, and then we go to some more fun. So, the personalized interactive experience is something that I call as personalized algorithmic storytelling, which was coined by William Oricchio in 2017, which is a software-based, AI-based storytelling and algorithmic narratives grounded in users' personalized data, which influence the content. Content becomes the form, the software becomes the narrative, gameplay, and the plot. However, in order to make this software and artificial intelligence processes visible and experiential, I let the technology and agency fail. Only then can we learn the limitations of the given technology and our limited control of it. And also through this contrast, we might be able to experience truth on the margins. I do this through balancing between immersion and alienation effects, which compose the emotional scale and experiential design of each piece. I'm going to tackle a little bit on the last part, how Symphony of Noise user design and emotional design relies on this theory. So before I start talking about the virtual reality piece, I'd love to introduce how the project actually started. So the project, so I worked for a German Leipzig-based production company called Close & Co Ost, and they have been developing, and also they are in Berlin, and they have been developing a documentary project about Matthew Herbert and his creative processes, as well as writing of his last book called The Music. And basically, then we decided that an immersive VR sonic experience might be exactly what maybe also Matthew Herbert's work can be about. So first I will, for those who don't know Matthew Herbert, I'm going to play a little teaser of the film so that you get to know him, and also the trailer of the film, which is hopefully coming to German cinemas in the summer when they open at some point.
Yeah.
The sound of an object leaving the Earth. The sound of black holes collapsing.
I remember being 19, 20 and getting a sampler, biting an apple into the sampler, and the sound just being unbelievable. I mean, you feel like somewhere between Stephen Hawking and Jesus and Jimi Hendrix. It's just like, it's the world noise that you've unleashed. It's like you've been given the keys to the universe.
My name is Matthew Herbert, and I'm a composer and writer and maker of things, and hopefully mischief.
I know some of you probably don't like to listen to some of the weird stuff that I do. This tooth being pulled out of my mouth just before we started the tour. We need more from here. All of my music has been focused on the human perspective, and I thought, what does the world sound like to something else, like to a tree?
I think that part of my responsibility as an artist is to change people's perceptions or challenge people's perceptions.
Motherfucker needs to show a little chemical. Up so high, all the butterflies. Let's not the money for the body.
So so that's Matthew Herbert's work and Symphony of Noise. And sorry, I try to go to the next slide. And so when we were shooting the film, we discussed maybe let's make an interactive piece based on work, or maybe in cooperation with Matthew Herbert. And it was in 2017 where VR, virtual reality, started to get its hype. And we thought to ourselves, okay, Matthew Herbert's work is about the world and the sounds, and he calls himself the sound documentarian. And we thought, what if we could bring this world of sounds and these sounds from our bodies together? So what could happen when we enter the immersive technologies and suddenly our bodies become parts of those worlds? And so we started developing the piece in 2017 with a co-creator and co-producer, Jamie Baliu in the UK. And it was also developed with then prefrontal cortex and mace. I call now mace tools. Maybe it's ectoplastic, I'm not sure. Yeah.
It's just both.
Both. Good. And also we were lucky enough to get later on board VRAM, which is a VR festival in Hamburg, and the Reeperbahn Music Festival, where we actually then premiered the piece in September 2019. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about the history, because I think it's something that people who don't create virtual reality pieces or XR pieces don't see. So we started, as I said, in 2017, and then in 2018 we managed in the UK to make the prototype, to make a simple prototype with a studio, Wolf in Motion, in London. And I mean, the spaces they created were beautiful, and we really enjoyed them visually. But then we realized that the sound kind of was left behind. And then we thought, okay, what shall we do now? Shall we take those visual worlds and try to put sound on them? And how will we think about our bodies? And then we decided that we start again. We started again by sound itself. So we looked at what does Matthew Herbert do and how does he do it? And then we started not only collecting sounds, but we also started collecting sounds that come from our bodies. And then we realized, okay, let's consider our bodies as main instruments. And so we decided that we will create each space, which will consist of one instrument, which is a basis for, let's say, a musical score. This was bass, melody, and rhythm. And this was Phibos's, so our sound composer, sound designer's idea. And that was really, really important at the beginning of the second prototype, to work with a sound composer, a musical composer, as well as sound programmer at the very beginning, so that the user design and the virtual worlds that we will create will be in line with the sonic worlds and with the sound. So at the beginning, so in 2019, we created four worlds, which were based on Music Herbert's, the music, his book, where we chose some of his beautiful poetic descriptions of sounds And we decided to get inspired by them, but not translate them completely into the worlds. And so we had different worlds. We had the water world, and we had ice world, and we had a supermarket world, and then we had a desert world. And then, and we had, like, we tried to make everything reactive. So the user can blow into a bubble, and from that bubble comes a sound, and the user can interact with the controllers as well as with their voice, so they can sing. But also during the first prototype, the floor was reactive. So even making steps on the floor in the virtual world would make sounds and would create certain rhythm. And then we came to the most important part of virtual reality experience design, and that was user testing. And we first user tested actually with Matthew Herbert himself in London, where we went and showed him the piece. And we had a lovely, amazing talk with him. And he said, like, look, I see, like, I understand what you're like doing here, and it's good, but what are you saying, you know? And then we realized, yes, that's true. What are we saying? And so we realized, okay, we are actually looking into our bodies as instruments, but also as the world around us. And then we also tested during VRAM, where we premiered the prototype basically. And there we also realized that the reactive floor, the HTC Vive trackers did not, like, people didn't use them. So it did not work very well regarding the user design. And then, I mean, we realized later on was because we didn't give the user a body in the space, in the virtual reality space. And that's something that is so crucial, but also not needed. But if you want to use your feet, you should have a body in that space. And so then we got rid of the trackers. So we killed. It was my favorite darling. I loved that part, and I think Paul Kirsten gave a lot of work into that, and prefrontal cortex as well as then the sound designers. And then we decided that we, so we killed our darlings, we changed the worlds, and this is the trailer from the piece as it looks now.
Every sound is possible. All the American food tills printing out receipts. All the chicken being fried right now. All 14,000 chickens about to die, now cluck. All the champagne corks pop at once. All the black holes collapsing. All moments and all sounds combine. A symphony of noise.
So for us, it was the technology of virtual reality that could best translate Matthew's vision to the end user. Through the use of spatial sound and interactive features in VR, we're able to experience worlds differently. And here, via the super sense of hearing, we get to be the conductors of the world. We don't translate Herbert's book word by word, but we let Matthew's poetry be the introduction to a new world of sounds. And this world is created by each user's interaction differently. Through playing with sounds and interacting with environments, through moving, hand gesturing, breathing, it is our aim to create sonic landscapes that are universal, but at the same time, highly personal. The user will thus also document their bodily sounds in order to create their own symphony of noise. And here you see a little bit of the design, how it works when you're in VR. So in the first space, you blow the bubble, which we call the wobble, and that's how the bass is created. So the first part of the score, and there is a certain, so the immersion is created by not only the spatial sound, which you hear, that you hear around you, but also then through like basically hearing your own breathing that is then taken over by an algorithmic process, and so it's alienated. So suddenly your breath becomes more Bayesian different. The same thing happens with space number 2, where you are in the world of ice, and you suddenly you sing or speak into an ice sculpture, and then it's taken over by an algorithm, and it's recorded and also changed into something a little bit else. Yet you can still recognize your voice. The third part is you play on a fridge, which is again the noise, the sound, the rhythm is taken by the algorithm, taken over by the algorithm, and the world just starts, doing its own sounds. Nonetheless, you have created 3 parts of a musical score, and when you come to world number 4, this is where all 3 worlds collide in this universal space, and you're able to move the rings by circling them around you fast or not fast, shutting them down. You basically conduct your musical world, and you can still recognize your voice and what you, let's say, sang into the didgeridoo, as well as how you use the fridge as a drum, and as well as your breathing. So this is basically how the piece works, and it's also regarding the dramaturgy. It's about taking you from the inside world within yourself, within your body, into the through nature world, into the outside world, and then basically becoming one with the universe, through sound and VR. Yeah, this is how the last what the last scene looks like, and yeah, here are some press voices from the Reeperbahn Music Festival, which we really enjoyed. And this is you see the picture of one of the reporters in the Reeperbahn container that we installed at the festival, and where we played the piece. And it was amazing because we were all there, all our team. So me, Maria, our line producer, Stefan Kloss from Ectoplastic, and Pau from Prefrontal Cortex, and Fivos, the other sound designer. And we really, what was amazing was to see how people came out of the piece and how they felt, how the feeling of change towards sound and the world and the world and how the world sounds happened. So I'll just read the first one because I love it's short and I love it so much. I feel a little of tracks as I stand soaked with sweat in front of the container back on Heiligengeistfeld. No, I don't hear the world with different ears. but the happiness I felt in these lonely poetic worlds, which I could feel completely with my voice and my body, still resonates. At night, in the empty subway to Berliner Tor, I notice how beautiful the windows sound when you flip them, like a madman or like a composer. So yeah, this is what it looks like. Looked like at Reeperbahn. And yeah, this is it. Thank you. And this is our team.
Yeah, thank you very much for this inspiring talk. I really love the project, like I say, and like the transition, like you can give input from starting with just breathing if somebody's like don't like to sing or just is a bit shy or don't know what to do in any way, and he's just breathing and there's already something happening really slow. And I really loved this moment. And how did you watch the people testing it? Have you been in the container too when people did test it? And how did you observe their reactions, and how did they act like?
So I'll show you. So this is the container on the left is the whole container, but we split the container into two halves. So in the first half, you have a sort of onboarding and offboarding space where people came in. There was the Matthew Herbert's book. They could read, his words. They got prepared for this like sonic experience in a way, and that was also an offboarding room at the same time. So when people got out of, so this was the second part where people entered the VR and they were in the VR space. But when they got outside, they could still meet also people who were entering, as well as just like sit down, because some people get nauseous in VR. So we had like a chair there, they could sit down, and we were basically, we were there, and we talked to them. And of course, when you are in the VR headset, because it's not a mixed reality headset, so you are completely isolated from the outside world. So there was always a volunteer that was, taking care of the users so they don't fall or, stumble across something. But we talked to the people, and I think Reeperbahn, especially Reeperbahn and also REM, I mean, those were two amazing experiences because you could have like the direct contact with your audience, and I love that.
Yeah, and also it's really interesting because you said about this fact of motion sickness, what is always a topic when you talking about VR, but at this point, because I tested it by myself and I tested also other VR apps, not so much, but a few, and but there was like, you were just in this world and there was not much what was like pressuring you or bringing you to this feeling that something is pushing you from outside, when sometimes you have this feeling in VR, but there it was really open and you can just, like the bubbles in the beginning when you start to blow into the microphone, but just integrated into a VR headset, and you can just stand and blow and look to the bubble and it will just grow, and this is such a really nice feeling to have a feedback in a physical way from an application.
I think the physicality was very important to us, and that was also the work that, like the sound designers and the composers, so Fivos and Stefan, were really, I think that's where their work gets really appreciated, because they were able through the spatial sounds to create the feeling of presence. And even when you when you make sounds out of your body, but you can hear yourself or you can hear your breathing back to you, this creates sort of like distortion between you and your digital sonic self. But at the same time, it's kind of, you become part of the world, right? And suddenly you become, through sound, you get to go to other places in a way. So this is what I appreciate so much. And also we were awarded then by Fivers, which is a Toronto VR festival. We were awarded the excellence for sound design. So
yeah, I was really,
kudos to the sound designers as well.
really proud hearing of it, and was there looking just on the YouTube. You can see the, how do you say, how it is honored, and yeah, and the way how they describe the sound experience is really like an advertising for this application, because it's really like they're really enthusiastic about this whole concept of the application, to have sound in the middle of the experience, not like, okay, you have the visual and then you have a bit of sound, but it's like it have the same value. Yeah. And this is
exactly.
Yeah.
That was the main point. This is why we also then, when we started the second prototype, we said, let's just start right away. At the same time, we start the development together, like sound and visual, and it should not be separate. So that was super important, that we also met all the time in Halle, all the time, as much as we could in Halle, and exchanged visions and experiences, and yeah, so that was very important. And I think that's what influenced, you know, the like, as you said, like so that sound was in the middle of the piece and is.
Yeah. I have a look to the chat if there's another question, and yeah, maybe, I guess not. So just for our viewers, when the experience will be online available? Do you know something?
So yes, we were just talking about this with Stefan and Paul and Maria this week, and with our team. And we will launch an early access beta version of the piece on Steam. It's not, it will be in the first half of this year, but we haven't decided on the date yet. Nonetheless, it's important. So anybody who is interested in testing it out and giving us feedback, because now we are in the beta version, which means that we are solving the technical issues. So of course, if you have feedback regarding the content, we cannot change that much, but you'll be able to enter the early access through Steam, the early access version, and then we will be happy to get feedback from you so that we can improve the experience. And yeah, that will be basically a launch of the piece on Steam, because nearly every piece has to go through this process.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, I really appreciate that project, and I hope we can make a screening also here of Symphony of Noise in ZiMMT once, and have an installation of the VR experience as well together. And I hope we will invite you soon into the ZiMMT personally. Thank you very much, Michaela.
I would love to come. Thank you for this invitation. I'm so happy that you guys founded ZiMMT. I think it's crucial and vital, and I really wish that we get rid of this pandemic very soon.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.